Welcome to Breaking the Line. I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Taking a deep dive into the art of mime, choreography.
So, today we are going to be reviewing the song The Coming by War of the Ages. And this person who choreographed this song is actually this guy over here.
I mean, kind of. It's really Calvin Amos, but I helped, so I can take credit, right?
Yeah, you can take all the credit.
I mean, it was 90% Calvin's. I helped organize it on stage and work out some plot details, but it's his song.
Do you know when that was?
Ooh, okay. So this is somewhere around 2012, I want to say. I want to say 2012 with the team that we have presenting it. So it's a song that we recorded and haven't done a ton of it since. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But 2012 from the Amos San Diego team is the first people who did it.
Yep. So ironically, we have a lot of stats about the song because when we have the choreographer here, we can kind of do that.
Right, exactly. No, it should be fun. Shall we take a look?
Let's get started.
If you want to have an unbiased opinion about the video, you can watch it down in the comments first before coming back to us because we'll be live reacting and I'll be kind of talking through the song and some of the things. So feel free to watch it first there if you want to come back or however you want to do that. All right, let's do it. All right, so if you don't know what the song's about, it's a nativity song. It starts with the proposal for Joseph and Mary. So we did the Hebrew roots of passing the cup or accepting, crushing the glass under the heel. They're betrothed. And so if you didn't know what it was, that's your Hebrew marriage lesson for the day. And then instrument. So something fun with the choreography is every time you hear that riff, that's going to be where angelic being comes and talks. So this is the story of Gabriel with Mary saying that she's betrothed or has a child and her accepting that. We didn't do any angel flappings as part of the choreography to keep it some similar, but could have been something we had for clarity. This scene, I will say, was supposed to take a little bit longer in original choreography with their fight before they go apart to sleep, but essentially the story of him hearing about it, maybe adding little details of him wanting to put her away silently like Matthew talked about. Notice that guitar riff again. Coming into a dream at night saying, nope, marry her anyway. I don't know, any thoughts? I'm talking a lot. I know that guy's
I'm letting you talk because you know way more about this song, so
right.
You can fangirl on it.
I know, fangirling. I do love the music. So here's the Luke chapter 2 moment of hearing the word that they need to go to the inn, taxes, all that stuff. Gotta love taxes.
Yay, taxes! Woo!
I will say something we had a hard time staging here was trying to get Mary and Joseph all the way over here. We have the shepherds in the back. They probably, based on staging here, couldn't further upstage than hide some of that, but notice the guitar riff coming in, being where the angels show up, and they're supposed to spend a little bit longer here. This is the first, I think one of the earliest recording days we had on this, so if they had angled a little bit more, could have seen more and spent more time there. Here's the cue for the wise men to come out. Remember the story. Wise men going to Herod.
You got a little tiny hair.
I know. It was a smaller part. He was newer, but maybe we could have put him on a box to make it taller. But tiny Herod and tiny guard for him. Doesn't help that Mateo is like a giant. nice tall. A little early on this cue, but we have more conversation that was intended for this section. But this guitar riff is supposed to be the first gift, second gift, third, and then the fourth cue here comes standing up. Notice the guitar riff come back in, and that's when the angel sends them another way, not to go back to Herod to tell them where the child's at. Nice little reveal there, so you have all the people in front of Herod, and then separating out to focus back on Herod. Angel comes to Mary and Joseph, says to flee to Egypt, save the child's life, and that's why he's going to be known as Child from Egypt. Guard finds nothing, that they weren't there. End of song. Nice dramatic dark lights, because we've had fun with that. That's me in the back, turning down the lights. Alright, that's the song.
Cool.
Alright, so any thoughts? You're the one who's singing it all.
Terrible.
Cool.
Gosh, man.
I know, it's so trash. Like 10% trash though, because that's my 10%.
Yeah. So I would say, like, watching this song, like, I honestly think it's a really cool interpretation of the Nativity. One thing that we'll get into a little bit later is, why I maybe wouldn't do the song myself, but it's not a criticism of the choreography as much as it is a criticism of the purpose. Because the purpose of the song, like, if I could ask you where would you present the song, if I was to ask myself that, I guess would be a better way to put it, then I would say probably to a Christian audience during Christmas time. In which case it's like, you would also need an introduction to, well, this song is
about the nativity.
Because when I first saw it, like, I didn't fully understand that it was a nativity until about halfway through, I would say, like when the wise men and the shepherds showed up. That would be about the point where I was like, oh, this is Jesus. Got it.
Right. No, and it's the conflict of wanting to add really cool things that are details about how the story would happen that may not be, that they're more extra biblical, like how Jewish wedding proposals went. And so we threw a really cool thing in. Even though that's like a strength of the choreography, it also lessens the clarity if you're not already aware of that. Something that we found in practice is that when we presented it in the public presentations, we found that people didn't stop by, partly because it was metal music, which, even though it's really nice music, I really like it and it's great music. People want to hear Christmas music during Christmas time, and that's why they stop. So it's not that. And because it doesn't have lyrics, we found that public presentations really struggle when they don't have lyrics to actually like be pulled into the song and the story. So if you're stopping by on a glance at any point of the song, you're probably not going to catch that it's a nativity song or why we're doing it. And then it kind of ends with the whole like guards breaking in. It could work really well as a tag to another song. So if you were to introduce that song and then maybe introduce the life of Jesus afterwards, it could be, its purpose and message could lean into the first part of another song. The basic point is to tell the nativity scene from them getting engaged to fleeing to Egypt, which, to be fair, not a whole lot of other songs do.
Yeah, a lot of songs are just like, oh yeah, Mary's pregnant, by the way, and then Jesus is born.
So it does a good job of focusing it, but by focusing it doesn't really add to where you're going to be presenting practically during Christmas time.
Yeah.
But some of the positive things?
Yeah, some of the positive things. Like, I would also say, like, as much as maybe I wouldn't want to do the song myself or have my team present it, I think it's a very artful song. Like, maybe, in my opinion, one of the better interpretations in Mime of the Nativity. That's
the irony of it, that it's such a good detailed song of all these nativity parts.
Yes. And like, because it's so artful, like, we meant, like, when he told me about the whole Jewish wedding tradition part, I was like, that is actually really cool. I've never seen that in a song. It's brilliant. Right. And like so many little detail things and like the guitar riffs.
That guitar riff coming in for the angelic beings every single time. It's like, yes.
And so like those little things, like I would say that this piece is a very artful piece. Like this is a mime song that I would have a mime do to present to other mimes because of its high level kind of creation. Yes. And so like that's where I would say its function mostly ends up.
Or for a church audience that maybe you have a church audience that you have a lot of Christmas music already, that this helps vary which type of music you're listening to. And for the people who are like me, who don't always want to hear All I Want for Christmas Is You, in my, I know, crazy, that it adds some music variety so you're reaching the person that may not be pulled in. It's not going to reach your, I don't know, your homeschool mom crowd, but that teenager that's like not so sure about it, maybe that pulls them in because the music's more interesting.
Yeah, and also another thing that like is both a positive and negative. He's kind of talked about the negative. I'll talk a little bit about the positive is the song choice, the music choice, because while the music is not Christmassy, I think that is a negative during Christmas time, but during the rest of the year it might not be, because I think about if we had let's say a presentation that we wanted to do kind of like a timeline of Jesus or something like that, or we have like a progression of that in that way, shape, or form. Sure, you could do a Christmas song. I don't care. I'm of the thought that you can listen to Christmas music outside Christmas, and
wow,
if you want to do that, I don't judge.
I mean, you can still, but that's another issue.
What? So like being able to do a nativity song outside of Christmas without Christmas music
could benefit to that degree. Yeah, it's just a matter of what purpose it fills. Yeah. Theologically, I do love that it's so rich in the background context of what things are happening, and it takes from the four Gospels to kind of give you a holistic picture, storyline, start to finish, of the first couple chapters of most of the Gospels. So theologically,
so what you're saying is more of like a systematic theology for this song.
Yes, but I'm okay with that.
All right.
It does a good job of what it's supposed to do.
Cool. I'm just joking.
I would say it's mostly inspired from the Gospel of Luke, but it does take from parts, particularly from Matthew's account of the Nativity. So
Right.
obviously Mark and John, whatever.
Who cares about Mark?
They don't care about baby Jesus. Anywho, and as for critiques, I would just say the song is super solid. It just kind of misses a purpose and message, and having a storyline that kind of follows that. It does follow the story really well, but as far as creating what do you want the audience to go away with, I just don't know. It falls short, other than here's the history of what happened.
Yeah, like there's my biggest criticisms, because I don't honestly have many.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's more like functional aspects that I
Right.
criticize.
I might change a few staging things to space it out based on where we were presenting it,
Yeah.
with the things in the way, but most of that's super minor. That it's more when you're presenting the song, or teaching the song to your team, you can alter those things.
Yeah, my biggest thing would be the angel or the angelic being.
Right.
That's
Gabriel,
right? Or is
That would be Gabriel. I would add a wing flap just to
yeah,
get some clarity.
Something differentiate, maybe like an angel cape or angel flap or something like that, to differentiate that this is an angel coming to talk. Because when I first watched this song, I thought that it was Jesus coming to reconcile a marriage or something like this, and that's kind of what was going through my head at the first watch,
right,
until I realized it was a nativity later. So having something to kind of get that first view, because when you think of a mime song, you can kind of go from the audience's perspective. We have the unfortunate advantage of watching a song over and over again, being able to go, oh,
right,
okay, well, this is this is that. But from an audience perspective, they're going to watch it once, and they have to get the whole thing without using any words.
Yes.
And so that's a huge roadblock in a lot of songs.
Right. So you do little things to clarify. So you're like, angel, got it. And then doing things. Even though theologically we can debate, if angels had wings or not.
Everybody knows that they're all humanoid with wings.
Exactly.
Obviously.
You can look up that online for your own knowledge and whatnot. I know angels don't have wings, but for the sake of the clarity of the song, it would have been an easy identifier to add in to make it so you could see it in the first try. Right. Nope, for sure. I would also say timing wise, because there are some larger gaps, some of those are filled with people talking. And the more you do specific motions to try to communicate a sentence, you're kind of falling away from mime and more into bad sign language. Yeah. So I might add a little bit of I should say less movements, but clear, just to help differentiate what's the message.
Yep. And you can get really mixed up into doing an actual full sentence. And if you don't speak sign language, if you don't speak sign language, you're like, what are they doing? Whereas you can portray emotions a lot better. If I say, Jesus loves you, I could say, Jesus loves you, and somebody would understand that pretty easily. But if I was to say, the Gospel of John says to us that, and then it's just okay,
there's no
chill out
specificity there. Yeah.
Whereas you can also portray emotions such as, here's, Jesus loves you, and you would say no and be really rejecting. With just one hand movement, you understand the whole context of what's going on.
Exactly, without all the details of why someone would say yes or no or all those things.
And that's something you gotta be really careful about in mind as well.
Cool. All right, so let's move on to the ratings. So 3 criteria. We're going on clarity, difficulty, and style. And again, just kind of going off of what the choreography is here. Obviously, we mentioned some things that could bump those things up. All right, clarity.
This is going to be my only harsh criticism, because I'm going to give the other 2 pretty high ratings. Just,
foreshadowing.
Clarity, I'm going to give a 5, because as much as I do love this song, the message is really difficult to understand on the first go through without prior understanding of it. That's why it gets the message across. If you understand the message, it's a very good version of the nativity. It's very artful.
Yeah.
Like I've said.
If you just held up a sign that said "Welcome to the Nativity," you'd probably get.
Or a speaker comes up beforehand and it's this next song is about the nativity where Jesus is born, and blah, blah.
You might miss a few details of the whole proposal, but you'd be like, oh, that's Mary and Joseph, pretty quickly. Yeah. No, clarity. With some minor adjustments, I could give it higher, but I think a 5 is fair. With the things that are there, I'd probably say with just the angel flapping and some clarity on the staging, a 6 or a 7. And then if a speaker says anything, you're fine all of a sudden. But just on its own, because there's no lyrics and instrumental song is kind of hard to get more specific. Yeah, I'd say 6. I'd give it a 6.
I think somewhere in there is pretty
cool. Difficulty. So ironically, even though it's not that long of a song. It's pretty short to get all the nativity in there. Difficulty is actually a little higher because there's a lot of specific cues for people to hit. Gabriel alone has a lot of those cues. They're very clear to hit, so that does help. But it's not just like, do this and then you're done. It's tell the story of this thing to Mary, or then come and tell Joseph this thing, and then hit your cue to tell the angels, or sorry, they tell the shepherds when you're going to them in the field. Like, that character alone has a lot of specific things. I'd probably say, because you're dealing with lots of people, you'd probably say difficulty is closer to like a 7. It's not like any of the techniques are inherently hard, but it does have a lot of memory work to do for each of the characters.
Yeah, I'm going somewhere around there too. So the thing that gets me is like instrumental songs in general tend to be harder.
Yeah.
Like you could have the easiest instrumental song and it would be harder than some of the moderate lyrical songs.
Yes.
Because the lyrics not being there make it a lot harder to hit your cues. Like we actually saw it in this one, and we're not trying to criticize the mimes at all, but a bunch of people missed their cues, and it would have made the song a little bit more smooth had the cues.
But that also hinders the clarity, because the harder the song is, the less clear it tends to be, because they have to really hit it, otherwise you lose a lot of the clarity.
Right. And so like just the fact that it's instrumental, I end up having to give it a little bit higher. But it does have a lot of moving parts too.
Mm-hmm.
And, the stage that they had was a little bit smaller. If the stage was bigger and you were able to differentiate, okay, so here's the wise men with Herod, and here's Mary and Joseph with Jesus, and all that kind of stuff, it would make it so like there's a bunch of things going on different parts of the stage. I think that's great. I would give this song either a 7 or an 8, probably leaning toward the 7 range, because with all the moving parts, with all the technical aspects of it, I think it would be on the harder end to make sure that everything works properly. But I would honestly say in some cases on the harder end of songs tend to be some of the, I would say, better ones, like the ones that are more interesting, like as far as fundamental mime goes.
Yeah.
Mime as an art form, the ones that I appreciate personally, because it tells that a lot more heart went into it than just, this is a mime song, we're trying to just...
Yeah, and that with instrumental songs particularly, you have to work a lot more as a choreographer to make sure every single part's covered. You have some room that you can adjust cues because you're not working with lyrics, but you're also not able to just choreograph based on lyrics. There's a lot of mime songs that it's just like the actors to the song itself and the lyrics, which can be good. Courtroom, for one, is one that the song just tells the story and you do movements to it. But you don't want to be dependent on the song. And so when you have an instrumental song, you can't be dependent on the song. You really have to have actions and stuff. For that, difficulty goes up, but so does its style. Because I would say style-wise, there's no real hard specific technique where, no one's doing flags, no one's doing, I don't know, a bunch of mime walking or crazy things like that. But all of its style comes from all of the set pieces that are involved. And so I'd probably give it style-wise, I don't know, is 9 too high?
I was going to give it a 9.
Yeah, I think a 9 is good on style.
Yeah, for all the reasons that we put out before, it's a very unique, artful version. Like, it has a bunch of very unique set pieces that aren't in other nativities. It emphasizes things differently. Also, being an instrumental song, those tend to be ones that are a bit more artful because you're not bound by the lyrics of the song and a chorus and so on and so forth. Instead, you kind of get to do with it what you want, and these tend to have a bit more style, a bit more artful. So I'd give it a 9 on style.
Yeah. Cool. So with that, that's our thoughts on the song. Thank you again, Calvin and Amos, for pulling this song together, and fun working with you. Down in the comments, make sure to tell us what your thoughts are if you disagree or what's going on. Make sure that you hit that like,
smash that like, subscribe.
Smash that like, subscribe. And as always, I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Breaking the line.